Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Gray. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. It's a pleasure to follow all of my honourable friends. When you are one of the final speakers, it's rather difficult to simply say. You could say, I agree with everything that's said and sit down, but I'll try a little bit harder than that. But I think there's been some excellent contributions, all articulate, all passionate, because we all know the importance of this sector. I must refer, when I'm starting off in my remarks, to my register of interest. I am the chair, and I always have to look at this because it's a long title, of the APPG on nursery schools, nurseries and reception classes. So essentially the grant-maintained sector. I am passionate about that, and there was somebody else who was passionate about that, who I am greatly... I wish he was here today, because I spent many, many hours with the late and much-missed member for Birmingham Erdington. He was a passionate vice-chairman of working on that APPG for many years before I became the chair of it. And I will always be grateful for the insights that he gave me. And we were both driven by essentially the same thing. When you're looking at this sector, you have to ask, why is it? Do we just talk about money, or do we just talk about, let's put a little bit here, let's put a little bit there? Well, I think that this is as fundamental a debate as to why we are all MPs as one could possibly have. Because if you are an MP, if you are a politician, because you want to have that fabled giving everyone equality of opportunity, unless you get this right, there is not equality of opportunity. All the academic evidence in the world shows that the most important developmental stage for a child, as has been stated, is between 0 and 5. If you are behind academically and socially during that period of time, you do not catch up. I am also the chair of the APPG for Youth Employment, and we do a lot of work on training and skills at age 16 and the choices that our young people make at that stage. I say repeatedly that the choices and the impact of the skilled workers that my friend has been talking about on people there decides, it can't be any stronger than that, the choices and opportunities and the developmental the development of a person to the age of 16 to make the correct choice as to where they want to go with their career, what skills they want to do, and where they want to be in their life. And I'll finish with, and I hope you don't mind, Mr. Gray, because I see that time's ticking on, but I just want to talk about my own experiences. I have been a governor at Hoyle Nursery School in Bury for the best part of 10 years. When I went there, we've always had a budget of about £500,000, and this is one of the fundamental difficulties with the sector. In the business model for the grant-maintained sector is very different to the business model to the PVI sector, and it's how you equalise that up, which is, we certainly don't have time for that debate, but that's a very important sector. So we had no money. When I went to the school, I remember the first day I went to the school, I looked around and I said, where's the investment? And there's a lot of investment gone into the school over many years during the Labour government, lots of money put into nursery schools. And the head teacher said to me, nothing's really changed. If you'd been here 5, 6, 7 years ago, you would probably have seen the same thing. But what we did do, and where the money went, was into training highly motivated staff to get the outcomes that were necessary for people, for the young people who were there. Now, there were some challenges, and we were a failing school when I first went. Change of a few things. I became chair of governors, and in 4 years we got 2 outstanding Ofsteds. In that school there are 17 different languages spoken. One of the things that hasn't been talked about today is as well the impact of intensive work at a nursery level on children with SEN. The SEN unit in the school that I am a governor for and have been for a decade literally changes lives. I want to pay tribute to the late, great Val Kay, who sadly passed away, but I worked with her for many years. Rachel O'Neill, who is the head teacher now, is driving forward a facility that doesn't differentiate between kids, is an all-inclusive, progressive provision that gives SEN children the same ability to progress as per children from any other background. So we have many children who can't speak, who have English as a second language. We have many children who come from dysfunctional families, and these challenges are overcome. I don't have time to put into words the work and the skill and the love that is put into these children to ensure that when they leave that school, they have the best chance not only to progress whilst they've been in that school, emotionally, academically and socially, but to go on to the next stage of their education and to take that further. And when we talk, I could quite easily say, and I do believe this, in terms of the sector that I'm talking about, the government provided 3 years of supplementary funding. which is very much to be welcomed. Very briefly for the Minister, I would just say that I would ask him, and he knows this is a Minister who is not only a good man, but he's very much on top of this brief. But certainly within the grant maintain sector, the costs of COVID are mounting up, and I think there's also an argument for a consultation or at least interaction with the sector regarding fair funding for the grant maintain sector, so that funding is in the places where we need it to be and where it's most needed when this provision can make a difference. So what does this sector do? This sector transforms lives, and lives not just for the next 5 minutes, but lives throughout that life. It improves relationships. It gives people opportunity. When I went in, I'm going back to the start of my speech, when I went in, I looked at the young kids who were around that table, and I thought to myself, what is it that I want for them if I'm going to be chair of governors and stand here? Well, if I wanted them to have the chance to be astronauts, to be bus drivers, to be doctors, to be whatever they wanted to be in their lives. And the only way you can do that is with investment, but also highly motivated, skilled educators who are going to put that provision in place. As ever with this place, we talk a lot in the general about putting money in, but unless you have the bespoke leaders at a local level, it will not work. We are lucky in my area that we have fantastic teachers. I'm sure it's in Cornwall and everywhere else. I think it's been a brilliant debate. I thank my honourable friend for Winchester, who is Doughty campaigner doesn't even do it justice. I was very pleased to be under his wing in the meeting with the Chancellor, and I know that the Minister will do what he can to make sure this sector thrives and flourishes going forward.